Hello again, everyone. Edwin Learnard back once again. In this YouTube astrological segment, I'm going to be talking about the Virgo Astrologer, and yes, it does apply and pertain to the Sun, Moon, and Ascendant. Anyway, well, the first thing up is I want to just say that as far as what I'm referring to as far as the Virgo Astrologer goes, basically their style and how I see them as styles and astrologer, how I see them as astrologers. And the thing is, the first thing off about Virgo astrologers, of course, I mean, Virgo is actually notorious for their punctuality. If a Virgo astrologer tells you, okay, something's going to be done at a certain time, your chart will be delineated and completed by a certain time and date, most of the time they will have this done. Or if they're going to be somewhere at a certain time, if they're going to do, say, an in-person meeting with you, they will often be there right precisely at the time. Virgo is known for their precision. And the thing about Virgo, too, is, of course, they are known to be very punctilious and meticulous with their details. And when you get a chart done, it will often be analyzed very thoroughly. They're very, it's a lot of extensive analysis and detail involved in it. Virgos, though, can be a little bit, sometimes a little bit wordy and even pedantic. And sometimes when they speak, you might not always understand everything they're saying. They're almost like a walking dictionary. They're like Gemini. So that's the only thing. So if you're a Virgo astrologer and you're watching this video, the thing about it is sometimes you might need to tone down vocabulary. I mean, I don't do that a lot in my videos in terms of toning my vocabulary down, no, but I do realize that sometimes it may need to be done in order for somebody to readily understand something better. Now, Virgos also, I mean, as astrologers, of course, could be very analytical. They're very about analyzing things, and that's why Virgo can often be very proficient in astrology. They have that ability to dissect and analyze, and also compartmentalize things as well. They could break down the proponents in the chart perhaps better than anybody. But and the thing is, they're also very industrious and hardworking. Virgo will often laboriously work on your horoscope, where some other people may take a little break, or might take a break more frequently. Virgo just is like a relentless worker often, and they will work on your chart often very diligently. And Virgo is also the sign of the perfectionist. Now, nobody is ever perfect or infallible, but Virgo wants to be as close to that as possible. And when they delineate and analyze your chart, they're like the ones that will often leave no stone unturned, so to speak. They work very perfunctorily, and they will get the job often done very efficiently. And the thing you gotta remember about Virgo too is they're also known for being very neat and clean. They will often make sure that your chart has no blemishes on it whatsoever, no spills. What is it? No run, like on the commercial, no runs, drips, or errors. But Virgo will really make sure they'll keep it nice, keep your papers nice and flat, or whatever they gotta do to have the appearance of it looking very good. And also, Virgos will do things in a very organized manner. They're the ones which will go, they'll start out like things in some like in logical order. If they're talking about your planets in your chart, they may start out with the sun, then the moon, and then Mercury, and go in the right order that it's supposed to be. You don't have to worry about Virgo hopscotching around and doing things in a way which is not systematic or is not organized when they're delineating your chart. Now, the thing about it is, if they're doing an in-person reading for you in their own home, I mean, their home will often be very neat and organized. Virgo is not known for being disheveled. They generally won't have things out of place. They like to leave that good impression on you, uh, that neat impression. I would say, especially if Virgo is rising, because remember that the rising sign or ascendant is about our first impressions. And the thing about it too is And also make sure that your home is at least presentable. If you have a Virgo coming over, they may be the ones that want to take that dust off the hinge on your door. Now, I'm only joking. I'm being flippant as far as that goes. But don't be surprised if something looked out of place in your home. They might even position the chair where it's in that proper position. If it's sticking out on an angle off the table or something, they'll often be the ones that will actually straighten it up. And they don't do this to be rude or malicious. They just do it because they just like to have things very neat and positioned properly. Now, the thing is too, what you have to understand about Virgo too, though, is that they could be a little bit critical and judgmental. And again, Virgo is generally has a good disposition. They're not malicious people. If they criticize something, it's usually going to be in a constructive manner. They might see something in your chart. They'll say, "Well, look, such and such, you need some improvement in such and such area. I notice you have a tendency to do this a lot." Or they might say, I see a lot of procrastination in your chart, but they're very helpful, and they often will do this to let you know, okay, this is where you need modifications and you need adjustments that have to be made based on what I'm seeing in your chart. So, and another thing is, Virgo, of course, is the sign associated with health. Virgo does correspond with the sixth house in astrology, and they'll often focus and emphasize the health aspect or element of your chart. I mean, if you're looking for like a health report, astrological health report, Virgo may be the ideal person to go to because they epitomize health, and they will often find something of a health nature that maybe other people can't. They are very discerning. If I'm not mistaken, I mean, I heard there was somebody who was a client of Steve Judd, and Steve Judd, of course, is a fairly popular YouTube astrologer. He has a Virgo Ascendant, and somebody told me that the client of his told me that Steve Judd actually spotted glaucoma in her chart, if I'm not mistaken, and that, I mean, Virgo people will often see the things that others can be oblivious to and overlook. Now, something too is we have to keep in mind is that, and I'm joking about this, make sure you take your coronavirus precautions, because Virgo might want to know if you see evidence whether you have it or not, but I'm only joking. I'm being flippant as far as that goes, but you still need to take those precautions as far as coronavirus goes, regardless whether you're going to see an astrologer or not. But and again, Virgo can be very helpful, but not in an officious or unwanted way. They will point out things again in your chart to just try to often help you out, but they're not. Trying to point out anything negative necessarily to degrade you or be derogatory. And again, Virgo will often do their chart, a chart when they delineate in a very systematic, methodical fashion. It could be done like, as I stated before, delineating the planets in the right order, or going just house by house, starting off with the first and talking about elements of your first house and the second house, etc. And the thing is, back in that day, some of you may remember, I referred to as the prehensile days, when one would draw up the charts by hand, when you didn't have these charts being drawn up on the internet, where they would be computer generated as far as the birth chart wheel being calculated. Now, I could envision that the Virgos that didn't have that computer, they didn't have the internet back then, they probably drew up the charts with a lot of as far as using that compass and protractor to draw up the chart wheel. They probably did that with a lot of precision and very precisely. I'm sure Virgos over any other sign would be able to space the houses much better than anyone else on average, because they are very punctilious with details. Now, renowned astrologer Liz Green has a Virgo sun and Scorpio ascendant, so I'm sure she's very analytical in how she delineates her charts, and also can go very deep in the process. Given that Scorpio is rising, she likely goes well beyond what's superficial in an astrological chart, and likely looks at the psychological aspect or element as well. Virgos are often very service oriented, so I mean, when they provide an astrological service to you, they will often do it very seriously, and you can count on them to do a very good job on that as well. And Virgos can be very self-effacing and reticent and humble, and they're ones that will often downplay their abilities more so than the average zodiac sign. So anyway, people, that'll conclude this YouTube astrological segment. Until next time, people, Edwin Learnard saying stay well.